cowlick.
Spinny spin.
Spinny spin?
Yes.
So the beginning of this video is going to be us discussing my cowlick. Okay, which if you've never heard why they're called that, which I didn't know, there are a lot of words that like I just went along with when I was a kid, and I never asked like, wait, why is that word that word? Cowlick, or what I always heard is like callic, like C-A-L-L-I-C, is like if a cow licked your head. That's why it's called a cowlick. So if you have this spinny thing that Nick's talking about, it's called a cowlick. And I know it's kind of gross. So, last week we skipped over this problem. It's not on your green paper. So, on your graph paper, draw a line down the middle to kind of split. We're going to have two different situations again. So, draw a line down the middle and just kind of split. And we're doing 95 now. So, if you want to be able to reference back to it, I again want to challenge you guys to don't talk to each other for just a minute. I know normally it's like free reign for talking to each other in my class pretty much, but in your head, carefully read problem A like 2 or 3 times. Then write down mathematically the relationship it's telling you. Then do the same thing for problem B. Okay, there should be no talking. I should just see a little bit of writing, problem A and problem B. If you want to write down the sentence that they have, go ahead and do that. I didn't have space on the green paper to give you all of these. So my bad that this isn't on there. You can draw a picture if that would help you. Label something D, label something J. You'll know later when you go to that class. So while you guys are doing this, I can pass more stuff out. So, if you don't get back ORCID homework, that means you never turned them in. I decided with last week being so crazy, I will let you turn them in today with no penalty. So I did not put these in math yet. I actually had time to do it, but I stopped myself and I said, I'll let you guys turn them in today. Because guys, I'm missing a lot. A lot of you did not turn in your homework last week. So if you don't get it back now, it means I didn't get it, and it's going to go in as missing if I don't have it by the end of the day.
I'm very proud of myself. I was able to turn this in even though I wasn't here that day.
Oh, so you turned it ahead of time?
No, I actually did turn it in on Friday, even though I technically wasn't at school on Friday.
What do you mean you technically weren't at school?
I did not show, I couldn't go to school because I was sick, but I had to come in and get my science board because I didn't have time to do it. So I literally just walked in and I saw you and nobody else saw me. The room was completely, was not that crowded, but and I just walked in, nobody saw me, and then I just walked out.
Maybe I just didn't realize that you were on the absent list. I just normally assume all of you are here, right? I assume you're here for school.
Everyone is here.
Those math.
What should we call him?
It's still Friday's lesson, so it's still relationship between quantities. All right, time for some random cards. For problem A, tell me what you wrote, Lily. Okay, we have a D equals 16. Did we write anything else? You're right.
Yeah, times 2.
This second sentence is more complicated for us to interpret than the first one. Diana has $16. That's your equals, right? But then Hario has J equals twice as much money as Diana. Guys, give me your eyes up here. This is where everyone makes their mistakes. Is it 2J or is it 2D? Right? 2 times D or 2 times J. Hario has J equals what Diana had times 2. Right? Twice is times twice what? Twice what Diana had. So 2D. So then if we substitute, sorry, my D looks kind of funky here. So then if we substitute the D that we have into the D that we quote unquote don't know, what's 2 times 16? 32. So technically, in this situation, Hario has $32.
So couldn't you just say D times 2 is J?
Yep. You could also say D times 2 equals J. That's the same thing, just flipped around. You're reading it right to left instead of left to right. Same thing. Mathematically, same thing. Nick, what about problem B? What do you got for that?
Oh, well, so then D has 16. She has twice as much as her.
So mathematically, what do I write? D
Equals 16.
D equals 16.
And then since she has twice as much as Aria, J.
Who is she has?
Deanna. I'm assuming by name.
Yeah, the she. What's that called when we replace a person's name with another word? Pronoun. She has.
Twice as much as Darius, and then J would equal 16.
Hold on, what do I put here though? D equals. You told me, right? D equals.
Twice as much.
Quit trying to fill in numbers, right? She has twice as much money as Hario. Right now, write out the twice as much money as Hario. Right here, D equals 2J, not the other way around. Remember, these are two different situations. That's why we're spending so much time talking about these. Now, if we plug in the D that we have, well, 16 is actually twice what Hario has. How much money does he have here? Only $8. That completely flips the situation around. So again, we're about a week behind from where I wish that we were, but I'm glad that we're starting the week like reviewing this stuff. The careful reading or how you write something out, if you're asked to write the sentence, it means everything, guys. It changes the math completely. Over there, we doubled the 16. Over here, we cut the 16 in half. Questions? So then the thing I left you hanging on to, hoping to make you hungry for more, was this. Right? Now, I want you to take a couple minutes, and I have more papers to pass. No, I think I actually got all the papers to pass back. But I want you to take a couple minutes. We're not trying to solve here, necessarily. We're trying to relate the pictures with a mathematical expression or equation. So, for example, A, if we call these shorts, and I think we started this last week, right? Did we label these last week?
Yeah.
A is showing us 2 longs equal what?
2 shorts and 10 inches.
2 shorts and 10 inches. So, what I want you to try to do real quick for B and C, if you didn't get a chance to do it last week, is what are those relationships? And if you don't know B, there is a distinct relationship there. We are just getting deeper into triangles, so we'll talk about that. There is something good to write down there. But then pay attention to this on C. Sorry, I kind of cut it off a little bit, but on your paper it tells you same number of cookies. Take like 60 seconds. If you didn't get to it on Friday, write those mathematical equations. And it was right at the end of class, though, so that's why I'm not sure. This is on the green paper. So we're back looking at the green paper. This is on the green paper. Olivia, pick B or C and help me figure this out. You want to do B or C? I know, that's why we're going to do it together. B. So, I've labeled like a 2 and a 4 and a 5 there, but do you know like what relationship we're supposed to see because they made a triangle with it? Bella, do you remember that question at Math Counts about if 2 legs of a triangle were 8, what's the longest, the third? It was during the countdown round. Or no, maybe it was 2 legs for 16. Something like that. There's a distinct rule about triangles. We did not, but we did really well. So we can talk about that at form. In a triangle, we have 2 legs. Right? And when we talk about the distance between the 2 legs, regardless of if one leg is shorter than the other or if the 2 legs are the same as each other, the distance between the endpoints of those legs could be shorter than these other two legs, right? Could be longer than one of them, but at its maximum, if we lay it completely flat, let's say this is 8 and 8. If I lay this flat, it's 16. So that third leg is less than the sum of the two. So we're going to get into formalizing that and like making it a rule, but there's something that we're trying to see here is because this is a triangle, 4 has to be less than 2 plus 5. That leg has to be less than the sum of the others. 2 is less than 5 plus 4, and 5 is less than 2 plus 4. Any leg has to be less than the sum of the other two. Now, I don't need you to master that or memorize that or anything right now, but that's kind of what we're looking at, is if I make a triangle, or what we could say, flip it around, 2 plus 5 is greater than 4. 2 plus 4 is greater than 5.
We have to write those two.
Not necessarily, but later these will matter. Here's the other way that rule works. Any two sides of the triangle have to be longer than the third. Imagine this with me. Nick is trying to walk home from Phoenix. Here's Phoenix. Here's home. The shortest distance Nick could travel is this, and let's call that 10 comeuppance. So Nick could travel 10 comeuppance to get home, but he would have to go through a backyard with an angry dog. He'd have to walk through the post office, and there's also a lake in between. So Nick, instead of doing that, does this. Which is longer, green or blue? Green, because he had to walk a further distance. Guys, that's the triangle rule. If you don't go in a straight line, but instead make a triangle, you went longer. That's really the rule that we're talking about, is if you don't take a straight line, you went extra distance. The two paths are bigger than the single path. Two paths bigger than the single, two paths bigger than the single. Now, for all the cookies, see what I did there? Molly, can you relate to me what we see in picture C? What do you have in the left rectangle? And, yeah, so 3 boxes. Yes, please. And 2 extra. Maeve, what do I see in the right picture?
A box and 20 extra.
Now, some situations we cannot really solve, and other ones we can try. Could I, to make this situation a little bit simpler, delete a box from each side? Yeah. So let's get rid of a box from each side. So I now have 2 boxes over here, and 2 extra cookies, and 20 cookies. Could I, to make my situation simpler, remove 2 cookies from that side? Only if I remove 2 cookies from over here. So we remove 2, we remove 2. This is an oddly appropriate problem for the fact that it is cookie season. Girl Scout cookie season. Yeah. Girl Scouts are selling cookies right now. So wait. Hold on. In this first situation, we couldn't really figure out what the small, like the shorts or the longs were. But here, because we had box of cookies and box of cookies on each side, we only had one variable, right? We just had B, as opposed to up here, we had S and L, right, in situation A. So here, now that I get down to 2B equals 18, can I figure out what 1B, if if 2b is 18, can I split this in half and talk about what a single b is? Yeah, come over here and split this in half. Right? Well, whatever. How many would be half of 18? 9, right? So 1b, I'm not going to fight the picture to draw it, but these must be like some super fancy, amazing new cookie that they only give you 9
Oh yeah,
in
that's
a
like
box.
what Girl Scout cookies do. You buy like a
Dude.
$5 box and they give you like
Okay, Nat,
they give you like 15.
I'll admit that I do the math. Which cookies only come with 15? You don't know your Girl Scout cookies well enough. Tagalongs. Tagalongs, the chocolate peanut butter ones only come with 15.
Yeah.
How many Samoas come in a box?
30.
Chocolate and caramel and
That was the one I was thinking.
Samoas.
I
What cookies have the most?
feel like
The good ones.
Nobody knows.
Thin Mints.
I think Thin Mints have the most. All right, last question, then we're going over your mini mastery. Graph paper.
My sister.
I'm only asking you to write 4 letters on this one, essentially. I want you, in the next 3 to 4 minutes, to discuss. Ooh, you get to talk to each other on this one. Discuss with each other. What do you think? True or false for all of these statements? Hey, I have a lot of side conversations, but I'm trying to be polite and wait for you to stop. And I also have people sketching, and I'm trying to be polite and like let you make the choice to like bring your focus up to me. But come on. True or false for each of those 4 statements based off this bar graph. Remember, bar graph versus histogram. A histogram would have numbers down here, and they would have equal sized bins, right? I want to keep reviewing the difference between a histogram and bar graph, so I've realized we don't know it. In my first year teaching, I probably couldn't quickly tell you what the difference was. Histogram, the bars are up against each other, and they have equal like spaces called bins on the bottom. This is a bar graph because it just has like names, and it just has bars that are showing you the frequency or how many or how much here, how tall, right? All right, so take like 3 minutes, decide true, false for each of those. Go.
No.
Go team break.
How was she too
Yeah,
Yeah, that is true. But how was Ariel? Wait.
Ariel was
2 feet. Wait, can I go up close and look at it?
Sure.
So what? That would be 5. Yeah, I think
She's 1 foot. Yeah, but she's 5 and then I have 2.
some of these yeah, because
6.
4 plus. Oh, never mind.
How is he 2 foot tall? That's my question.
How's Ariel?
Hey, just assume these are like kids at a daycare center or something.
Then why is Kristen 5 feet tall?
She's the counselor. Yeah, she's the adult.
Then why is Rick 4 feet tall? That's still not healthy. Tell me that's not tall.
What other daycare teachers are 4 feet tall? Ariel.
6'2".
You're 6'2". Does it feel good being tall?
Okay, so obviously, Ariel is only 2 feet tall because she's a mermaid and can't actually stand up. Obviously, you silly millies not realizing. Not yet, because I'm still trying to eat because y'all are crazy. Alright, Meredith. When we look at Richard is 1 foot shorter than Kristen. Is that true or false? What do you think?
I think true.
Why?
Because Kristen's full of 5 feet tall, and then Richard is 4 feet tall. So like, yeah.
So what that sentence says, Richard is 1 foot shorter than Kristen, right? 1 foot taken away from Kristen. Is this true? Well, Kristen, 5 minus 1 equals 4. We have Rich is 4, Ariel's 2, Kristen's 5. This checks out. Because Rich is 1 foot shorter than Kristen. Toby, what about B? Ariel is twice as tall as Richard.
Well, you see, Richard is 4 feet tall, and Ariel is 2 feet tall. Twice as tall would mean times 2, which would be bigger than Richard, which is not true. Because she's 2 feet tall or something.
If the money was 8 feet.
So, Toby, if you were going to fix that statement, what should that statement actually say?
Richard is twice as tall as Ariel.
If we switch the names around, Richard is twice as tall as Ariel. That could work. Morgan, what about Kristen is 1 foot taller than twice Ariel's height? True? How do you know? Yeah, take this sentence apart. 1 foot taller. Well, 1 foot taller than what? 1 foot taller than twice Ariel. That checks out. That's true. Eric, bring us home. The sum of the 3 children's height is 10 feet.
False.
Why? What is the sum?
The sum is 11 feet because Ariel's too tall.
If we sum these, it's 11. All right, put your notes away. Get out your mini mastery.
Why does that say caution mark?
Do you have a good
Steps, like mathematical steps. There's an S up there. It's very small. Cut it out. Paste it on.
Do you have a good consistency on frozen yogurt?
What?
Do you have a good consistency on frozen yogurt?
No, this yogurt doesn't freeze right. I need the other kind.
I love yogurt. I only like yogurt.
No. Not that song, Meredith. No, that's gonna get stuck.
Sarah? Does everybody have their mini mastery? Whether you turned it in or not, doesn't matter. I looked at them but did not grade them. I realized we should grade together. Here's what I am going to tell you. You should anticipate some of the Chapter 5 mastery, like end of chapter mastery, to come exactly from this mastery. So if you are not currently looking at a mini mastery that you are going to make notes on, or like have a piece of graph paper that you make notes on, or like have a highlighter or a pen or something that you write in, like you are not doing everything that you could do to ensure that you will later more easily be able to show mastery. I have 20 minutes to go through this whole thing. It can totally happen, but I need you to pay attention with me. Perimeter for A and B should not be very difficult. For A, we just walk around the shape, 5, 5, 6, 6. We have a 10 and a 12, so we get 22. Please correct me if I'm wrong, too, because I'm going to be working fast, so I might make a mistake, because I'm not looking off a key, like I'm just doing this up here. Perimeter up here, 6, 8, and 9, ignore the 7, because for perimeter, we're just walking around the shape, picking up all the sides. We have 15 plus 8 is another 23. It's got to have a label or it's wrong. Technically, it's not wrong, but it's not right. So, I'm debating, really, if I wasn't so broke right now, I would have already bought this, but I want to get some stamps, like from Amazon or whatever, that, like, say, like, I'm not, like, broke in, but I don't have, like, money to throw around. I want to buy stamps that save me from writing stuff. Right now, I'm just writing it. But one of the things I will write on your papers when I take the time is dogs, cats, pizzas, question mark. Because if you just put 22, what in the world are you talking about? Talking about dogs, cats, pizzas, feet, miles, square, like purples, I don't know. It's got to have a label. So then area is a bit more difficult. Is it on topic?
Kind of.
No, we got to go, it's either on topic or it's not. Is it math?
It's about the yeah.
No. So area, this works just like a rectangle. It's your base times your height. Now, what I'm not probably going to put in your Chapter 5 mastery because that's why we take the quizzes, is that to find your base and height, you're looking for the perpendicular symbol. So here, that becomes 6 times 4, which ends up being 24. What's your label here? Feet squared. It concerns me how many people said feet but did not say squared. It's feet squared. Triangle. Hey guys, I got some people talking and you don't even know if your answers were right or not yet. Is 1/2 base times height, or some of you would rather just do base times height and then divide by 2? It's the same. Now again, base and height have to be perpendicular. Ignore the extension. That's not part of the triangle. It's just extending your line so that you can actually see what your height truly is. So my base is 6, my height is 7. What's 6 times 7? 42. Half of that is 21. Label? Centimeters squared. And I don't like where that arrow is now, so I'm going to erase it because it does not relate. Questions on topic, appropriate, timely questions. If you got this wrong, you need to identify to yourself, crap, I need to practice these things or care about my homework, because by next week, you're going to have to show mastery of these things on the end of chapter mastery. Order of operations is still catching a lot of us, more than it should. So, again, I'm just going to write it here for the fun of it. This is what I should see on your paper. If you combine the P and the E, I'm not doing anything that relates to each other. The 8 minus 4 doesn't relate to the 16, and the 16 does not relate to this 5. Yet, I can do those things at the same time. That was my exponent and my parentheses. I could have just done parentheses, then gone back and done the exponent. I would still end up with this written down. Guys, if this isn't written on your paper, it should be. I know some of this work can be done in your head, but you got to get used to doing it actually out on the paper, because otherwise you're asking to make a mistake. I change my minus into plus and negative. I combine my positives before I deal with my negative, and I try not to forget carrying over the 10, because that's 28, not 18. Then fights with a bad guy 5, and still wins by 23. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, just double checking. Check your work. Now, the first thing that we do here, technically, is just the 2 squared. Right? Technically, there's no parentheses. The exponent comes first. Now I multiply, divide, going left to right. Now, I would also, though, advise that you change any minuses into plus negatives. So 7 times 4, that's not bad. There's no negative involved in that. But then I would actually at least think about that. And more so, we could even do this. Plus negative 6 instead of minus 6 at the end. So this is 28. This is negative 24. I could go ahead and put these together, even though technically I'm not on that step yet. They aren't involved in any multiplication or division. We could go ahead and group these. That's going to be a negative 2. These, now I'm on to addition, subtraction. Well, positive 4. And then negative 2. I get 2. Please check your work there. Your final answer should be circled. We should be working vertically. Guys, I decided that instead of giving out a bunch of P's for things that are me picky and meeting with people individually, that we would take a class day and go over this stuff. But this is pointless if you're not paying attention. So if you didn't work vertically, I'm gonna start to be expecting that's what we do. And it's not me just trying to be a meanie pants and take points off or whatever you want to say. I know. It's because it makes sense in your brain. Right? I apologize that early in math we tell you to go left to right because that's how you're learning to read. but math makes more sense to drop things and work vertically, right?
Is it okay if we put the answer on the side?
That's fine. Like if
Yeah, but
from
then
here
it
you
has
went like
space.
this, that's okay. Still, I would ask that you circle it or box it or something that I can see really clearly. So the nice thing about working vertically and not going off to the side at the bottom is the bottom row is your answer. Now, I'm not saying that you can't write it out here, Araya, but what I'm saying is when I look, boom, 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 answer, like, is the last thing I see, or boom, 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 bing, like I gotta just pop over. It's okay, but you know, like the typewriter. You know. Nobody's ever used the typewriter. Any other questions about A or B? A or B questions? It's an app you can download so your computer makes more noises when you type the keys.
Meredith's like, yeah. Meredith's like, yeah. Typewriters are one of those old Mac computers. Yeah.
That should be the first thing you have written. Guys, I'm not joking. Minus and negative catches so many people, it's not even funny. The first thing you should do is grab your minus negative, make it addition. Then we have 10 plus negative 1, and we get 9.
That's what I got.
Over here, I bet a lot of us get this wrong. Because this, and you're tempted to put things together. We don't. The negative 6 is going to keep carrying down. The negative 4 is actually going to multiply after we do our parentheses, which I should have already done. So actually this, I should have already multiplied. If I'm following my order of operations, this I would have done first. And that's 6. Negative 4 times 6. Negative 24. That becomes negative 30 when I put those together. Who wins, the negative or the positive?
The negative.
The negative.
Whoop, I got it right.
Questions. I got to keep moving fast. If you got questions, spit them out. Questions.
Questions? So like, if it's negative plus negative, would they?
Bad guy teamed up with the bad guy.
But would they?
These don't add with each other, though, because the multiplication takes the 4 and makes it this. So now these add with each other, and they make a bigger bad guy.
Oh, okay.
Remember? Bad guy plus bad guy, bigger bad guy. I didn't really trick you, but because most of you said that I did, I went ahead and typed it like this. I was rolling a D30, right? I was rolling a D30, 30-sided die. So different than the problems we had in your homework of a 20-sided die, or like the numbers 1 through 20. But then I gave you some probabilities that I was hoping were a little bit easier just to test, like, is your brain turned on? When you have a set of numbers, sequential, meaning you don't skip any, and you start on an odd number, 1, and you end on an even number, 30. How many of your numbers are even? Half, right? A sequence of numbers, when you start on an odd and end on an even. Now, you could have also had 15/30 if that's absolutely correct, because that's the unreduced probability. Single digit number. So, 9, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of 30. Can this reduce? Yeah, it can. 3/10. So 30%. Multiple of 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. 6. We're going to say M5 for multiple of 5. So 6 out of, can this reduce? Ooh, 1/5, because they both divide by 6.
If you didn't reduce, is it counted?
No, because I didn't say you have to reduce. Right? Probability, once the fraction, like the fraction's better than the decimal, but you don't necessarily have to reduce. Sometimes we don't want to reduce because we want the like real pure probability. Can anyone tell me the nice kind of like trick here that actually, this is true facts, but it worked out really nicely.
Do you go and like on your calculator and like search the weather and just think, oh, this would be a nice problem?
Weather Underground, to give a shout out, Weather Underground is an app run by IBM, They actually bought the app.
Wait, no, it's the other way.
I know, I'm realizing that. And on Weather Underground, and I use this when I go disc golf, it tells you how, like, when the first light is, when sunrise technically is, because light happens before sunrise.
Yeah.
Because sunrise is when the sun comes up. Light starts pouring up over before them.
Yes.
And it told me there are 9.6 hours of daylight. True facts, as of like 2 weeks ago. Right, when I wrote this test. Hey guys. If there's 24 hours of light in a day, what's 10% of that? Did anyone check how we go from 2.4 to 9.6? Araya? It's a straight up times 4. There's no crazy difficult decimals or anything like. It's a times 4. If you use your 10% method, and then, guys, let your brain play with numbers. Don't think about 2.4 and 9.6. Think about 24 and 96. Right? Ignore the decimals for a minute. How do I go from 24 to 96? You guys think 25 to 100. Right? Kind of round things for a moment. It's got to be about 4. And then we can check the math in your calculator. 96 divided by 24. It's times 4. So this is 40%. So you should have had 40% daylight, 60% darkness, and then sadly, of the amount of time that we have daylight, there's like school takes up pretty much like this, like there's about this much time after you get out of school that there's actually light left. When the weather gets better, and when they redo our outdoor classroom, I have some requests for when they redo our outdoor classroom. The test, hey, stay with me, I only have like 3 minutes and I have like 3 problems. The test on this one was, did you set your axes up correctly? Because this point, hey guys, what I'm trying to train you with, hear me now, because never again will I feel bad for you. Right? I felt bad for you on this one, not really bad, but I like had sympathy and I said, hey, be careful. I won't in the future. When you go to make your axes, I have a lot of people not listening to me. Look at your points first. Do not make axes unless you know what you're graphing. The furthest out I go is 7. The furthest down I go is -3. The furthest up I go is 3. Oh, my y's, this is convenient, my y's are balanced. -3 to +3. So what that means is my x-axis could also be balanced because my up-down needs to balance. But when I look at my x's don't balance. I go from -2 up to 7, so I need more space out here. So then we can plot -2, 3, -2, 3. 5, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 3, 0, -3, 0, -3, 7, -3, 7, -3. Should have made a parallelogram. Then, if you were asked to find its area, I've got money on it that a lot of you didn't do this part of this problem. I would bet money, like I've got money in my wallet, I would put down on the table, because a lot of you, and this is why I wanted to go over this test, don't read every part of every problem. Guys, you've got to start reading everything. It would just be base times height. How long is this base? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think it's 7. And then the height is 6.
Is this feet or?
Well, it's just units. So here, our area becomes 42 units.
And then we have the little tiny 2, right?
Yep, units squared. Thank you. I was seeing if anyone would catch me. Guys, if you don't have a label, it's units. Our graph is showing units. Hold on, keep it out for a second. Questions on that? It was all about the axes on that one. Guys, you should expect your Chapter 5 mastery to be very similar to this. Hold up, stick with me. Freya.
Okay, so when we're making a graph like this, is it okay to
we forget to move it over for our points, and then we just like draw it off to the side.
Yeah, if you have to extend the graph, that's fine, but I'd prefer that you think about it beforehand just to save yourself effort. But that's okay. You know what I mean? We had this problem on your homework.
Yeah.
This should have been familiar. We had this problem on your homework. At least one very, very similar. I think it was the same thing. Yeah. So, 8x and 5, like this should have been familiar. But you shouldn't remember it because it's familiar. You should just remember how to do it.
We do it the other way around.
Yes, but technically the variable value should come first.
Oh, okay.
So if you want to make, and technically the higher power, hey guys, good question here that later will matter. Meredith was asking, like, can we do it in the other order? Yes, but technically you want the highest power of variable first. And your just number, the constant, will come last.
Oh, okay.
Hey Morgan and Sarah, I'm hoping you guys are with me because I'm kind of like, I'm going to come back and see what's going on before we get out of here. Then x squared's by itself, 6x, and a 5. Now, we're out of time and we got to switch, especially because the other class is blocked. So I need you guys to quickly pack your stuff up and get out of here.
If you flush drugs down your toilet in Florida, it goes to crocodiles.
How do you know crocodile?
Alexa, play it
But now, only one of the roommates of your perspective of it. This doesn't affect it first. I'm emailing this video to your person right now. I'm still going. Send it to your parents. So I can't figure it out. What do I do? You know better, right? Like, you know better. In math class, we're not. This is not art class. So Morgan, we talked about this last week. What do I have to do to get this through your head? Then you like lunch detention or something like that, or can we fix this? It's up to you. Can you fix this, or do I have to figure out how to fix it? I need you to say that more definitively. By doing what? What are you going to do to hold yourself accountable in math class? Okay, so we're not going to sit together anymore. What else, Morgan? How? What are you going to stop yourself from doing? Because we talked about this last week, but you didn't make any changes today. I told you last week you are not allowed to sketch in my class. Did you follow what I said? So we're going to go ahead and call this 2 strikes. Whatever that even means, because I'm not really a baseball person. So if we have one more issue, we're calling parents in. Okay? Am I clear? Am I going to see you sketching in math class again? Unless you talk to me about, I know this content, I'm good, but you're not following along. You have wrong answers on your mini mastery. You did not correct them. At least Sarah was going through checking her work, putting check marks and stuff like that. You're back here drawing a bear claw. And not even like the donut. Right? I'm trying to make a joke, but I'm really annoyed right now. Stop drawing in math class. Are we clear? Go to your next class.